Imagine this. Someone you trusted with your heart, your dreams, your everything, turns their back on you. They smirk, thinking they've won, believing they've left you broken in the dust. But here's the twist. What if their betrayal wasn't your breaking point, but your breakthrough? What if the moment they walked away was the exact second you began to rise? Stronger, wiser, untouchable. Welcome to Jung's Psyche Hub, where we dive deep into the wisdom of Carl Jung to uncover the hidden power in life's toughest moments. Today, we're exploring how betrayal, through the lens of Carl Jung's psychology, becomes the spark that ignites your transformation. Stick around to discover the 5 signs you're turning pain into power and why those who betrayed you are already facing their own unraveling. Let's dive in. Betrayal hits like a freight train. It's not just the act itself, the lies, the broken promises, the knife in the back. It's the way it makes you question everything. Your trust, your worth, even your own judgment. When someone you loved or believed in betrays you, it's like the ground beneath you cracks open, and you're left staring into a void. But here's the thing: that void isn't your destruction. It's the doorway to your shadow. A concept Carl Jung, the legendary Swiss psychologist, described as the hidden parts of yourself, your fears, insecurities, and unhealed wounds. In this chapter, we're diving into how betrayal forces you to face your shadow, not to break you, but to rebuild you into someone stronger, wiser, and unshakable. Let's unpack this. When betrayal lands, it's raw, it's personal. It's the friend who gossiped behind your back, the partner who cheated after years of loyalty, or the colleague who stole your ideas and claimed the credit. The pain isn't just emotional, it's existential. You ask yourself, how did I not see this coming? Was I too trusting, too naive? These questions aren't just doubts. They're the voice of your shadow. The part of you that Carl Jung said holds everything you've pushed away. Your fear of rejection, your need for approval, your buried anger. Betrayal doesn't create these feelings. It drags them into the light. Let's ground this in a real story. Meet Anna, a 32-year-old graphic designer who poured her heart into a friendship with her college roommate, Lisa. They shared dreams, late-night talks, and plans to start a creative agency together. Anna trusted Lisa with her biggest idea, a unique branding concept for small businesses. But when Anna pitched it to a client, she found out Lisa had already presented the same idea and landed the deal. Lisa didn't just steal Anna's work. She spread rumors that Anna was unreliable, cutting her out of their social circle. Anna was crushed. She stopped designing for weeks, spiraling into self-doubt. Was I too open? Did I deserve this, she wondered. Sound familiar? Maybe you've been there. Betrayed by someone you let into your inner world. Here's where Carl Jung's wisdom kicks in. He believed the shadow isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. When Anna faced her pain, she wasn't just grieving a lost friendship. She was confronting her shadow, a deep fear of not being enough, a belief that her worth depended on others' validation. Carl Jung taught that the shadow holds the parts of ourselves we don't want to see. But when we face them, we unlock transformation. For Anna, the betrayal was a mirror, reflecting her unhealed need to please others. It hurt, but it also woke her up. So, why does betrayal sting so much? It's not just the act, it's what it reveals. Carl Jung argued that every crisis, like betrayal, is a call to individuation, the process of becoming your true self. When someone betrays you, they don't just break your trust, they force you to question the illusions you've clung to, like the idea that loyalty is always returned or that being good protects you from pain. These illusions are part of your shadow, and betrayal rips them away, leaving you raw, but ready to grow. Let's break this down. When you're betrayed, your shadow might show up as self-doubt. Was I not enough? Did I cause this anger? A burning rage you're afraid to express because it feels wrong. Fear of vulnerability. A voice whispering, never trust again. You'll only get hurt. These are normal, human responses. But Carl Jung would say they're also opportunities. Your shadow isn't something to hide from, it's something to integrate. By facing these feelings, you start to understand yourself on a deeper level. You begin to see that the betrayal wasn't about your worth. It was about the betrayer's inability to honor it. Back to Anna. Instead of staying stuck, she started journaling about her pain. She wrote about her anger, her shame, and her fear of being too much. Through this, she realized she'd spent years dimming her light to make others comfortable. The betrayal wasn't her fault, but it showed her a truth. She'd been betraying herself by not setting boundaries. This is what Carl Jung calls shadow work, facing the parts of yourself you've ignored to become whole. Anna began setting boundaries, saying no to toxic relationships, and focusing on her own creativity. Slowly, she rebuilt her confidence and launched her own design studio, something she'd never have done without that painful wake-up call. Here's the key takeaway. Betrayal doesn't just hurt you, it reveals you. It's a brutal but necessary teacher. Carl Jung believed that life's darkest moments, like betrayal, are invitations to meet your shadow and start the journey of individuation. When you face your shadow, you don't just heal, you evolve. You stop seeking validation from others. You stop bending over backward to prove your worth. You start owning your power. But what about the betrayer? While you're doing this inner work, they're running from their own shadow. Carl Jung would say that people who betray often act out of their own unintegrated shadow, fear, insecurity, or envy. They project their flaws onto you because facing them is too hard. That's why betrayal often feels so irrational. It's not about you. It's about their inability to confront themselves. And here's the kicker: while you're growing, they're stuck, haunted by the same shadow they refuse to face. Let's make this practical. If you're reeling from betrayal right now, try this. 1. Name your shadow. Write down the feelings betrayal brought up: anger, shame, fear. Don't judge them. Just acknowledge them. 2. Ask the hard question: what does this pain reveal about you? Maybe it's a need to set better boundaries or a fear of being alone. 3. Reframe the story. Instead of, I was betrayed because I'm not enough, try, this betrayal showed me where I need to grow. By doing this, you're not just surviving betrayal, you're using it. You're turning pain into power, just like Anna did. And here's a question to keep you hooked. What's the shadow that betrayal revealed in you? Hold that thought, because in the next chapter, we'll explore how silence, yes, silence becomes your greatest weapon in transforming that pain into something unstoppable. You've been betrayed. The sting is real. The questions are loud. And the urge to scream, confront, or prove you're not broken is overwhelming. But what if the most powerful response isn't a fiery comeback or a viral post exposing the truth? What if it's silence? Not the kind of silence that feels like surrender, but the kind that radiates strength, clarity, and self-mastery. In this chapter, we're diving into how silence becomes your greatest weapon, not just to heal from betrayal, but to transform into your truest self through Carl Jung's concept of individuation. Silence isn't passive, it's the cornerstone of becoming untouchable. Let's explore how. Carl Jung described individuation as the journey to integrate all parts of yourself, your strengths, your shadow, your dreams into a whole. Authentic self. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be, free from the expectations or manipulations of others. Betrayal, as painful as it is a catalyst for this journey. When someone betrays you, they expect you to react, to beg, to fight, to prove your worth. They thrive on your chaos because it keeps you tethered to their control. But when you choose silence, you break that chain. You reclaim your power. You step into individuation. Let's ground this with a story. Meet Michael, a 29-year-old software engineer who poured his heart into a startup with his colleague, Rachel. Michael shared his innovative code for a new app, trusting Rachel to pitch it to investors as a team, but Rachel presented the project as her own, landing a massive deal and sidelining Michael. Worse, she spread rumors that he was difficult to work with, costing him his role in the company. Michael was furious. He wanted to call her out, expose her lies, and fight for his reputation. But something stopped him. Instead of reacting, he went silent. He didn't post rants online or argue with mutual colleagues. He walked away, focused on his own growth, and started building a new app from scratch. Why does silence feel so powerful? Because it's not about hiding, it's about choosing yourself. Carl Jung would say that silence is a form of shadow work, where you confront the urge to react, and instead channel that energy inward. When Michael chose silence, he wasn't running from the pain. He was refusing to let Rachel's betrayal define him. He used that energy to reflect, to ask, who am I without this job, without her validation? That's the essence of individuation, discovering your core self, untouched by external chaos. Silence doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything and choose not to let it control you. Carl Jung believed that true strength lies in integrating your emotions, not suppressing them. When you're betrayed, the impulse to lash out comes from your shadow, the part of you that craves justice, validation, or revenge. Silence is the act of sitting with that shadow, listening to its demands, and choosing a higher path. It's saying, I see my pain, but I won't let it pull me into their game. Let's break down why silence works. It starves the betrayer's ego. People who betray you often feed on your reactions, your anger, your tears, your explanations. They give them power. Silence cuts off their supply. When Michael stopped engaging with Rachel, she lost the ability to manipulate his narrative. Her attempts to provoke him, subtle jabs in emails, vague posts online, fell flat because he refused to play. It builds your self-mastery. Carl Jung's individuation is about aligning your actions with your true self. Silence is a discipline, a choice to prioritize your peace over their chaos. Every time you resist reacting, you strengthen your inner resolve. It shifts the power dynamic. By going silent, you become a mirror, reflecting the betrayer's own insecurities. They expect you to chase. When you don't, they're forced to face themselves. For Rachel, Michael's silence wasn't just absence. It was a reminder that she couldn't control him anymore. Here's a real-world moment you might recognize. You get a text from the person who betrayed you, a vague, "Hey, how are you?" or a passive-aggressive jab. Your fingers itch to respond, to set the record straight, to prove you're thriving. But you pause, you breathe, you delete the message and move on. That moment, right there, is individuation in action. You're not silencing your pain. You're choosing not to let it speak for you. You're building a version of yourself that's untouchable. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Silence is how you claim that privilege. When Michael went silent, he didn't just walk away from Rachel, he walked toward himself. He spent months learning new coding skills, networking with mentors, and launching his own app. A year later, his app gained traction, earning him recognition in the tech world. Rachel's project, built on stolen ideas, flopped when investors saw through her lack of expertise. Michael's silence wasn't weakness, it was the foundation of his rebirth. So, how do you harness silence in your own life? Try these steps. 1. Pause before reacting. When betrayal triggers you, wait. Vindicate hours before responding. Write down your feelings. But don't send that text or post that status. Let the urge pass. 2. Redirect your energy. Channel your pain into something that serves you. Journaling. Exercise. A new project. For Michael, coding became his outlet. What's yours? 3. Set boundaries. Silence doesn't mean ignoring the betrayal. It means protecting your energy. Block their number. Unfollow them online. And create space for your growth. Silence isn't about pretending the betrayal didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it define your story. Carl Jung's Individuation teaches us that every crisis like betrayal is a chance to shed what no longer serves you. When you choose silence, you're not just healing, you're evolving into someone the betrayer can never touch again. Here's the deeper truth: while you're embracing silence, the betrayer is running from their own shadow. Carl Jung believed that those who harm others are often fleeing their own unintegrated selves, their insecurities, their shame, their fear of being seen. By betraying you, they try to escape their shadow, but it follows them. Your silence forces them to face it, because without your reaction, they have no one to blame. That's the power of individuation. You grow. They unravel. Before we move to the next chapter, ask yourself, when was the last time you chose silence over chaos? How did it feel to take back your power? Hold that thought, because up next, we'll dive into the psychological karma of betrayal, why the betrayer's unraveling is inevitable, and how your rise becomes their mirror. You've faced the pain of betrayal. You've chosen silence, reclaiming your power through individuation. But what happens to the person who betrayed you? Do they just walk away, unscathed, living their best life while you pick up the pieces? Not quite. In this chapter, we're diving into the concept of psychological karma through Carl Jung's lens, how the betrayer's actions plant seeds that grow into their own unraveling. This isn't about mystical revenge or wishing them harm. It's about the natural consequences of their choices. Rooted in Carl Jung's idea of the shadow, when they refuse to face their inner flaws, life has a way of holding them accountable. Let's break it down. Carl Jung believed that the shadow, the hidden, unacknowledged parts of ourselves, like envy, insecurity, or shame, drives much of our behavior when left unchecked. When someone betrays you, they're often acting from their shadow, projecting their fears or inadequacies onto you. They might betray you to feel powerful, to escape their own guilt, or to avoid confronting their flaws. But here's the catch: running from the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It festers, and that's where psychological karma comes in, not a cosmic punishment, but a natural consequence of living out of alignment with truth. Let's ground this in a story. Consider Cleopatra, the iconic Queen of Egypt, whose life offers a timeless example of betrayal and its fallout. Known for her charm and strategic brilliance, Cleopatra also betrayed allies when it suited her ambitions. She turned on her own sister, Arsinoe, to secure her throne, manipulating others to eliminate threats. At the time, it seemed like a winning move. Cleopatra gained power, wealth, and influence. But her betrayals created a ripple effect. Alias grew vare. Trust eroded. And her empire became unstable. By refusing to face her shadow, her fear of losing control, she sowed the seeds of her downfall. When Rome turned against her, she was left isolated. Her once loyal supporters scattered. Her story shows that betrayal might bring short-term gains, but the shadow always catches up. This isn't ancient history. It's human nature. When someone betrays you, they're often running from their own shadow. Maybe they betrayed you out of envy. Like a friend who couldn't handle your success. Maybe it was insecurity. Like a partner who cheated because they feared you'd outgrow them. Or maybe it was shame. Like a colleague who stole your ideas to mask their own inadequacy. Whatever the reason, Carl Jung would say their betrayal reflects their refusal to integrate their shadow. And that refusal has a cost. Psychological karma works like this: when someone betrays another, they create a fracture, not just in the relationship, but within themselves. They might feel a temporary high, thinking they've won. But that victory is hollow. Les breed mistrust. Manipulation erodes credibility, and betrayal builds a life on shaky ground. Over time, the betrayer's shadow, the guilt, fear, or emptiness they tried to escape, starts to surface. It shows up in fractured relationships, a tarnished reputation, or a nagging sense that something's missing. They might not admit it, but life keeps score. Let's make this real. Think of someone who betrayed you, a friend who gossiped, a partner who lied, a co-worker who threw you under the bus. At first, they might seem fine, posting happy photos or boasting about their success. But look closer. Carl Jung's shadow theory suggests their unraveling is already in motion. Maybe they jump from job to job, unable to build trust. Maybe their new relationships crumble under the weight of old patterns. Or maybe they're haunted by a quiet unease, knowing they traded integrity for ego. You don't need to lift a finger. Their shadow does the work. Here's a modern example. Meet David, a marketing manager who betrayed his teammate. Sarah. By taking credit for her campaign strategy, Sarah had worked tirelessly, sharing her ideas openly, trusting David to support her. Instead, he presented her work as his own, earning a promotion while Sarah was overlooked. At first, David thrived. New title, bigger office, more recognition. But cracks appeared. His team noticed his lack of originality. Clients questioned his expertise, and his reputation as a credit stealer spread. Within a year, he was passed over for another promotion, and his team distanced themselves. Meanwhile, Sarah, who'd chosen silence, built her own freelance business, earning respect for her authenticity. David's betrayal didn't just hurt Sarah. It exposed his shadow, and life held him accountable. Carl Jung would say this is no accident. The shadow demands integration. When the betrayer avoids it, they create a cycle of self-sabotage. Their lies catch up in missed opportunities, broken trust, or the loneliness of living a lie. You, on the other hand, are on a different path. By facing your shadow, your pain, your doubts, you're doing the work of individuation, growing into a stronger, truer self. Your silence, your boundaries, your growth, they become a mirror, reflecting the betrayer's flaws back at them. So, why don't you need to seek revenge? Because psychological karma is already at work. The betrayer's unraveling might not be dramatic, no public scandals or lightning bolts from the sky. But it's there in the quiet moments, the friendships they can't sustain, the opportunities they lose, the mirror they can't face. Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us that you don't need to punish them. Life does that naturally when they live out of alignment with truth. Here's how you can trust this process. 1. Let go of the outcome. Stop checking their social media or waiting for their downfall. Your job is to focus on your growth, not their punishment. 2. Notice the signs psychological karma shows up: subtly strained relationships, a tarnished reputation, or their need to keep reinventing themselves. Trust that their shadow is doing its work. 3. Stay on your path. Every step you take toward individuation, setting boundaries, pursuing your goals, widens the gap between you and their chaos. Your rise is their mirror. Before we move on, ask yourself, have you ever noticed how betrayers seem to unravel without you lifting a finger? Maybe it's a friend who lost trust after gossiping, or a colleague whose lies caught up with them. Hold that thought, because in the next chapter, we'll explore how your rise, your transformation into an untouchable version of yourself, becomes the ultimate reflection of their loss. You faced the pain of betrayal, embraced silence as a tool for individuation, and seen how the betrayer's shadow leads to their own unraveling. Now, it's time to focus on you, your rise, your transformation, your journey to becoming untouchable. This isn't about building walls or shutting down. It's about stepping into a version of yourself so grounded, so authentic, that no betrayal can shake you again. Through Carl Jung's lens of individuation, we'll explore how betrayal becomes the crucible for forging a stronger, wiser, and unshakable you. Let's dive into how you rise above and become the person they never imagined you could be. Carl Jung described individuation as the lifelong process of integrating all parts of yourself, your light, your shadow, your dreams, and your wounds into a whole, authentic self. Betrayal, as brutal as it feels, is a turning point in this journey. It strips away illusions, forces you to face your shadow, and challenges you to rebuild from the ashes. But here's the magic: when you rise from betrayal, you don't just recover, you evolve. You become untouchable, not because you're invulnerable, but because you've learned to protect your peace, set boundaries, and live from a place of deep self-worth. Let's bring this to life with a story. Meet Maya, a 5-year-old writer who poured her heart into a relationship with her partner, Ethan. For years, she supported his dreams, edited his manuscripts, and believed in their shared future. But Ethan betrayed her, leaving abruptly for someone else. Dismissing Maya's contributions as nothing special, the betrayal crushed her. She stopped writing, doubting her talent and worth. Was I not enough? She asked herself, staring at blank pages. But instead of chasing Ethan or proving him wrong, Maya turned inward. She began journaling, exploring her pain, and discovered Carl Jung's concept of individuation. She realized that Ethan's betrayal wasn't just a loss, it was an invitation to reclaim herself. What does it mean to become untouchable? It's not about being cold or untouchable in the emotional sense. It's about cultivating a core so strong that external chaos, betrayal, lies, manipulation can't derail you. Carl Jung believed that individuation is about harmonizing your shadow and your conscious self, creating a balance that makes you resilient. For Maya, this meant facing her shadow, her fear of abandonment, her need for external validation, and choosing to build a life that didn't depend on anyone else's approval. She started writing again, not for Ethan or anyone else, but for herself. She published a blog, then a book, and eventually built a community of readers who resonated with her authenticity. Here's how betrayal sets the stage for becoming untouchable. It reveals your strength, Betrayal forces you to dig deep, to find resilience you didn't know you had. When Maya lost Ethan, she thought she'd lost everything. But in the silence, she found her voice. It teaches boundaries. Carl Jung's Individuation emphasizes knowing your worth. Betrayal shows you where you gave too much, teaching you to protect your energy. Maya learned to say no to relationships that drained her. It fuels your purpose. Pain can be a catalyst, instead of breaking her. Ethan's betrayal pushed Maya to create work that inspired thousands. Your pain can become your power. 2. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're in Maya's shoes, reeling from a betrayal. Your instinct might be to fight back, to prove you're not broken. But becoming untouchable means redirecting that energy inward. Carl Jung would say that every crisis is a call to integrate your shadow and step into your true self. For Maya, this meant writing through her pain, but also volunteering at a local literacy program, where she helped others find their voice. Her betrayal didn't define her, it refined her. Here's a real-world moment you might recognize. You're scrolling through social media, and you see your betrayers post a new job, a new relationship, a curated life that screams, "I'm fine." Your stomach twists, tempting you to compare or compete. But then you pause. You remember who you're becoming. You close the app, pick up your journal, or head to the gym, or work on that project you've been dreaming about. That choice, choosing yourself over their noise, is what makes you untouchable. It's not about ignoring the pain. It's about refusing to let it steer your ship. Carl Jung's wisdom offers a roadmap for this transformation. 1. Integrate your shadow. Acknowledge the pain, anger, or fear that betrayal stirred up. Write it down. Talk to a therapist, or meditate on it. Maya journaled about her fear of being not enough, which helped her see it as a shadow to embrace, not a truth. 2. Set unshakable boundaries. Decide who gets access to your time, energy, and heart. After her betrayal, Maya stopped tolerating one-sided relationships. She surrounded herself with people who valued her authenticity. 3. Pursue your purpose. Use the energy of betrayal to fuel something meaningful. Maya's book wasn't just a creative outlet. It was a beacon for others healing from pain. What's the dream you've been putting off? The beauty of becoming untouchable is that it's not about revenge, it's about transcendence. While the betrayer is caught in their shadow, running from guilt or chasing validation, you're building a life aligned with your true self. Carl Jung believed that individuation is a lifelong journey, but betrayal accelerates it. It's like a fire that burns away what no longer serves you, leaving space for something stronger to grow. Here's the deeper truth. Your rise becomes their mirror. When you become untouchable, you don't need to tell the world you're thriving. They see it. Your peace, your success, your authenticity reflect back to the betrayer everything they lost. Maya's book became a bestseller, not because she set out to prove Ethan wrong, but because she set out to be true to herself. Ethan, meanwhile, struggled to maintain his facade, his new relationship crumbling under the weight of his unaddressed shadow. Your growth doesn't just heal you, it exposes their emptiness. So, next time you're tempted to respond to a betrayer's taunt or prove your worth, pause and ask, is this worth my peace? Becoming untouchable means choosing your energy over their chaos, your purpose over their drama. It's not about being perfect. It's about being whole. Carl Jung's Individuation teaches us that wholeness comes from facing every part of yourself, even the parts betrayal brings to light. Before we head to the outro, ask yourself, what's one step you've taken to rise above betrayal? Maybe it's setting a boundary, starting a new project, or simply choosing peace over pain. Hold that thought, because in our conclusion, we'll wrap up with a powerful call to embrace your untouchable self and let the universe handle the rest. Here we are, at the end of a journey through betrayal, silence, and transformation. You've stared into the pain, faced your shadow, chosen silence as your strength, and risen above to become untouchable. Through Carl Jung's lens, we've seen that betrayal isn't your breaking point, it's your breakthrough. It's the moment you shed illusions, integrate your shadow, and step into the truest version of yourself. They thought they could shatter you, but they only broke their own mirror. Now, you're shining brighter than ever, a living testament to the power of individuation. Your peace, your growth, your authenticity, they're the loudest answer to those who try to dim your light. So, what's next? Keep rising, keep integrating, keep choosing yourself. Every boundary you set, every dream you chase, every moment you prioritize your peace brings you closer to the self Jung dreamed of, a whole, unshakable you. The betrayers, they're facing their own shadows, unraveling in the silence of their choices. You don't need to chase justice your life. Your light, your rise is the justice. Now, it's your turn to share your story. What's one moment you turned betrayal into power? Drop it in the comments below. Your wisdom could be the spark someone else needs to start their journey. If this video spoke to your soul, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. And subscribe to Jung's Psyche Hub for more insights on unlocking your inner strength. Don't forget to tap the bell so you never miss a video. Let's keep growing, keep shining, and let the universe handle the rest. Your silence isn't surrender, it's your superpower. See you in the next one.